Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today is the best day of the month. It is LMIAY time. Someday we may actually have a theme song. Probably not, but maybe. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. The number one way is through LMIAY, which is what we're doing here today, the monthly prompt writing contest, where I give you a prompt, you write a short story using that prompt or a fragment, and it can be as new or established characters. And on the first Monday video of the month, we read some of them together and bask in the creativity, share some of the love, and send people your way if you've got social media or stories that you want to share. The second way to be featured is if you are an indie author and you have a book out or a book that is coming out. If you submit your first chapter and your cover, they'll be read here on the channel at a random interval, and hopefully it'll help more people discover your work. The third thing is if you would like to check out any of my work, they are available in the links down in the description below. You can get them at any of your favorite places to get books, including the library upon request or OneDrive. So that said, let's get into the prompt. First, you guys are missing out because we have a wonderful community in general that inspires the prompts 100%. But this month's prompt was exceptionally special because we've got a wonderful person, a very good friend of mine named Ruth, who has mangoes in her front yard. And so the prompt this month, brought on by discussion in the server, was challenging you guys to write stories stealing mangoes from the tree in Ruth's front yard, because that is a popular pastime in the area. So I can't entirely tell you what prompted the inspiration for this prompt anymore, but it was a conversation and you guys are wonderful. With that said, let's get into the stories. Also, in honor of today's prompt, I don't have a mango shirt, but I do have a peach shirt. So I am wearing peaches in honor of mangoes. You're welcome. The first story is by Mae Tanner. Ofron stumbled up the stairs to Terushian's quarters. He gasped for breath as he reached the top of the tower and burst through the doors. He called out to the women. Afela, Kaffa. Kaffa peeked out from the nursery. What do you want? Come quick. Doron arrested Terry. The girl's eyes widened, and she ducked back into the nursery. Ofron followed her into her room. Hurry, we can't waste time. You need to come with me. Afela gathered her daughters and came to his side. Kaffa sat on the couch. Ofron scowled at the girl. You need to come too. Doron won't spare you, and Faye needs help with her children. Niclaire will protect you. She glanced at Afela. I bet he'd protect Faye too. He didn't protect Terry. She lifted her chin. Terry is a sinner. Faye and I ain't. Ofron scowled at her. We're all sinners. Come. Kaffa rolled her eyes, but joined him in Afela. He lifted Shyla into his arms. Afela grabbed Falera's hand. As they passed through the front door, the girl wandered to the desk where the communicator sat. Hurry! Ofron didn't breathe easily until they reached a level that they could slip into the servants' section. Outside, he led them through the streets to his personal quarters. Kaffa wrinkled her nose. What's this place? This is my home. We need supplies if we're going to leave headquarters. We won't be here long. I have a horse and a pasture outside town. He grabbed the blankets from the closet and tossed them at the women. Wrap those around yourselves. They'll serve double duty. Helma stepped outside her room. What's going on? We're getting out of headquarters. You're welcome to come with us. Wait, why are you leaving headquarters, and where are you going? He sighed. They arrested Terry. They'll come for me too. We're heading to my brother's farm. The wild men the gods sent should find us there. I'll come. Ofron scoured his home for supplies and made bundles for each of them to carry. All right, let's head out. Kaffa surveyed the bundles of supplies and furrowed her brow. We ain't had lunch yet. What are we gonna eat? Helma shrugged. We ran out of food this morning. Ofron was supposed to pick some up while he was out today. She slung her bundle on her back. We'll find food along the way. Now come! Ofron fastened the bundles on the women's backs and grabbed one that he'd made for himself before ushering them back into the streets. He glanced at Afera as they neared the edge of town. She hadn't said a word since he'd collected the women from Terushian quarters. Faye, are you all right? She rested a hand on her stomach and gazed up at the sky. It's a beautiful day. Too beautiful. Look! Kaifa pointed at several mango trees growing in front of a house just off the road, the branches laden with fruit. We can pick those to eat. She dropped her blanket and supply bundle, popped the top button on her jacket, and darted to the trees and grabbed at the fruit on the lower branches, calling to the children as she picked. Fela, Shy, climb the tree and pick fruit for us. Orfron chased after her. Kaffa, no! Helma joined Kaffa by the tree. She's right. We can use the fruit. The door to the house burst open as Orfron reached Kaffa and an old woman ran out, brandishing a broom. You, get away from here! The woman charged toward the women at the tree and batted them with the broom, her white hair flying wildly about her head. Those are mine! My man planted them for me! Orfron grabbed the broom and the woman turned on him. Kaffa picked faster, stuffing the mangoes into her jacket. Helma backed up and joined Fela on the road. The woman scratched at Orfron's face. He grabbed her by the wrists and pinned her arms. She screamed and struggled in his grasp. Kaffa, stop! We need to go! There are plenty of mangoes on these trees. She didn't need them all. Thief! They'll set the watchman on you! Fela gasped. Ori! We can't let her talk to the watchman. He groaned. Ugh. We're gonna have to take her with us then. Come away, Kaffa. Ain't you done enough damage? Helma grimaced. Couldn't we tie the old woman up and leave her in our home? If we bring her with us, we'll need more food. She wouldn't live alone, would she? We don't know how long it'll be before someone comes. If her man works on a ship, she could be there for days. Oh, I see. The woman fought him, screeching. He gagged her and tied her hands behind her. We need to go before someone else comes. Come on, Kaffa. The girl pouted, but followed him back to the road, where she picked up the bundle and blankets. Those are gorgeous mangoes. We should pick as many as we can before we go. We don't have time. The old woman continued to struggle and refused to walk. Orfron tossed her over his shoulder. So much for his plan to have his horses carry their supplies. If she wouldn't cooperate, the woman would have to ride. Fela moved to his side, her face pale. We're committing a sin by taking her with us, ain't we? Can't be helped. She glanced at Kaifa. If only we hadn't stolen those mangoes. I'm sorry, Ruth. You are being kidnapped. I hope you enjoy the journey. So maybe they'll drop you off in the town square on the way out, or just outside of town, or, somewhere. They're already in trouble. They're fleeing town, so, they might as well just drop you somewhere. Very nice. It's always interesting to see how you use the prompts in with your established characters and your established story. The next story is by B.R. Grove. So, my next door neighbor, Ruth, thinks her mangoes are so great, does she? Well, imagine her face when on our community's annual spring festival, her precious produce doesn't appear. The karma for her sabotaging my strawberries last year would be delicious. Of course, that's assuming my mission goes off without a hitch. It's 1:30 in the morning and I'm dressed head to toe in black spandex. I even bought a black masquerade mask to add to my gimmick. If I'm going to be a cat burglar, I might as well go all out. All of the lights are out in the house from what I can see, except for the lamp in her bedroom. When at long last that is shut off too, I make my grand entrance. Allow me to set the stage. There is a large white fence that separates her backyard from ours. Her mango tree is smack dab in the middle of her yard. I'm dressed in my cat burglar garb, carrying a large wicker basket that I intend on putting all the fruit in. The lights in her room go out. I count to 10 to give her time to fall asleep, and then I slide the basket's handle over my shoulder and hoist myself over the fence. The basket slides off my arms and bounces onto the grass, and I proceed to fall flat on my ass. My head snaps up to check if Ruth heard me, but the window is still dark and empty. I scramble to my feet and snatch up the basket. I continue my trek over to the prized mango tree and reach a hand out to start picking the delicious red and green orbs from the nearest branch. Well, well, shouts a high-pitched, nasally voice from above. Shame prickles my cheeks as I look up to see Ruth in her curlers and housecoat standing at her window and staring accusingly at me. What have we here? That didn't go so well, PR Grove, but you know, probably it made a little bit more sound than you meant to when you fell over the fence, not gonna lie. Probably a little bit too much noise. Thankfully, Ruth is a merciful, wonderful lady. So, you know, there's no better mango tree to steal from because they're delicious and she is very nice. The next story is by Egao Chan called The Campaign. Ow, 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 ouch! William rushed out of the backyard, whining and moaning. His 4 short legs gave him stealth but not speed. Spinning green shuriken with 5 tips followed him, hitting him all over his body, especially sinking into his fluffy butt. I told you sending in a corgi was a bad idea. I told you. Smirky, the calico, laughed at her cohorts. Sleepy, the hedgehog, Barton, the hamster, and Baguette, the raccoon. Operation Cute Infiltration failed. Our theory that the humans would go easy on Colonel Williams was wrong. Barton the hamster groaned. This human is ruthless and showed no mercy even to a corgi. She didn't even go aw. That's obviously not true for all humans, you dorks. Smirky smirked, then licked her paws. You should have listened to me. I'd save you all this embarrassment. Relax. Don't fixate on the mangoes. Sleepy the hedgehog rolled on the ground, casual and without a care. We can still eat with all of this.
I just want trash, guys. I don't know what all of this is about.
Baguette the raccoon raised her paw.
Why are we sneaking in again? God, I'm so sleepy.
Straighten that attitude. Barton the hamster raised his voice. It's an arduous campaign. It's what you signed up for. We need to regroup and recon. Poof. William the corgi collapsed on the ground. His tongue dangled and flopped on the grass.
I can't do it. General, the mango watcher is too fierce. Can't do it.
Sleepy the hedgehog crawled to William's side and started pulling the shuriken out of the corgi's fur. Most were on the corgi's butt. He did not mind. Sweet green juice dripped on the ground. These throwing weapons were made of sliced star fruits, his favorite. He could eat them all day. Baguette, your turn, now! Barton the hamster stood tall on the branch of the tree. We're counting on you. Sure. Let the raccoon steal the mangoes. Really smart move. Smirky smirked again as she dropped a foul nugget of poop on the sand.
I failed. You, General.
William rolled on the ground and put his belly up. Sleepy whined and moved closer in order to get more starfruit slices.
I am willing to face the consequences.
Don't worry, Colonel. Rest. You'll get another shot. Barton raised his tiny arms and fixed his googly eyes at the mysterious human's house in the distance.
Can I get trash if I get the mangoes?
Baguette the raccoon raised her right paw. You'll get all the trash that you want, Captain. Barton nodded.
Why is she the captain?
William raised his head and stared at Baguette.
I want a promotion. I'm so sleepy. I don't care.
Baguette the raccoon yawned and snuck through the fence. Baguette kept her body low and moved with small steps. She did not make a noise. In less than 30 seconds, she already made it further than William. Go, Baguette! We're counting on you! Barton cheered. Everyone, witness Baguette! Baguette! Sleepy's mouth was full of star fruit. At the same time, William was almost asleep from the ray of sunshine peeking through the leaves. He did not really care about the mangoes in the first place. Smirky was cleaning her paws again and did not pay any attention to what was going on. Sleepy also laid flat on the ground, asleep due to a sugar crash. Go, Baguette. You've got it. No, not that way. Not that way. Baguette! No! Barton's cheers turned to desperate pleas as the raccoon changed her course 3/4 of the way and launched herself into a trash can. Her tail swung side to side, dangling at the edge. Smirky almost fell on the ground from all of the laughing. Barton chewed on the branch that he was standing on in a fit of rage and frustration. Operation Trash Finder failed. Our operative was lured away. How devastating. We need reinforcements. Oh, relax, you mouse. Let me show you how it's done. Smirky got up and circled around the fence. Barton watched Smirky walk up to the front door of the mysterious house. She scratched the corner of the door. After a few seconds, a tall woman with curly hair opened the door. Shamelessly, Smirky stood up on her hind legs, put her paws together, and waved them up and down. A human gesture of begging for food. The woman awed, then retreated into the house. Smirky smirked at Barton as he waited. The woman came back with a bowl. Inside, the bowl, however, was not mangoes, but cat food. Useless! You're all useless! Barton roared while stomping on the ground. Smirky began eating. She, too, had failed. Fine. Barton grabbed 3 smooth and sturdy leaves. He stuck them together using 4 tiny twigs. A glider, something that he had learned how to make from watching one of those TV thingies. With the glider on his back, he launched himself at the window of the mysterious house. The wind was right. His angle was true. The gravity was not as harsh, thanks to the glider and his fluff. The bowl of mangoes was right in front of him, only a few meters away. Thump! His face bumped into the invisible wall. He slid down on the edge of the window. So close, yet so far. Tears filled Barton's eyes as he cried in the squeaky voice. All he wanted were some mangoes. Why must the world be so cruel? The window slid open. A piece of sweet, fragrant mango, almost the size of his entire body, was put in front of Barton. He stopped crying and started chomping without delay, his eyes fixed on the woman's face. She was smiling. The campaign triumphed. But he should not let the sweetness blind him. He must prepare for another one tomorrow, and the day after, and more days to come. Well, Ruth is pretty lucky to have such cute invaders coming to give her a visit. So, the Starfruit Shuriken, pretty dang impressive, Ruth. Yeah, I know that you got more than enough Starfruit to mechanize that. Very creative, Egao. Very nice. The next story is by Anoni Moose. Welcome back, sir. Or madame. I spotted them, crouched behind the white picket fence, and was instantly enthralled. Precious, plump, perfect pink peaches. And they were ripe. I could taste them, along with victory all the way over here. I leaped over the fence and into a low crawl. The Yorkie in the yard charged me down, yapping like a yammering yokel. But I was prepared. From my pocket, I deployed my tactical chew toy and rolled away. With the beast put at ease, I continued my arduous trek toward my tempting target. Fruit tree. 'Twas but toward my front, and after a short climb over the opposite blank fence, I would have my just desserts and claim ultimate conquest. As I closed in on the barrier, I swung my legs under me and placed my back against the fence. Excitement welled in my gut. I was so close. Like a slithering snake swaying upon a branch, I hoisted and threw myself over the barrier. I rolled like a paratrooper landing on D-Day to avoid belly plopping on concrete. Finding myself on my back, I spotted the coveted fruit, just waiting to be taken. But I sensed trickery afoot. Rolling onto my belly, I cast a careful gaze around the yard. Well-manicured grass, a swing set, and a perfectly tended garden filled my vision. But it seemed too easy. There was no way the target wasn't being observed. The second I moved, I would be spotted. I felt it in my plums. But the challenge was to simply take and flee. Nothing was said about being caught, so I steeled myself, mouth watering for the sweet flesh of delicious fresh fruit, and leaped to my feet. In a mad dash, I ran and jumped to the freshest, most delectable the tree had to offer. With careful fingers wrapped around the prize, I landed and tumbled shoulder over shoulder. Then I stood and raised my reward overhead, shouting with jubilance as victory was within my grasp. No. Nicolas Cage, sitting in a lawn chair on top of Ruth's roof, shouted from a blowhorn. Wrong! I blinked. Confusion squelched the elation within. How are you going to steal the Declaration of Independence if you can't even tell the difference between a peach and a mango? He leaned forward and stared at me with immense disappointment. If I bring you along now, you'll end up stealing a Magna Carta. He wagged his hand with frustration. Go back. Try again. Oh my gosh. Anoni Moose. This is fantastic. I am in it for the Nicolas Cage Declaration of Independence collection of short stories. This is Ruth. You have a visitor. Probably the best visitor. Let's be real. Nicolas Cage. Thank you so much for submitting this. My life is better because of it, sir. The next story is by Molly B, called The Confession. Happy birthday, Damien! I blink a few times, and eyed the large basket of vibrant aromatic mangoes Ben is holding. I hid the fact that my mouth is watering. My favorite fruit. And so much of it. Ben knows me well. Too well. I never told Ben my birthday. I don't even know my birthday. Ben, what's all this? I was going through some of my records the other day, and I noticed your birthday was April 14th. I found it in the letters way back from the 1500 something. Today is not anywhere near April 14th. I know, and I had to do something for your big day. Late is better than never, right? Now, I know that you're going to be all, well, vampires don't even celebrate birthdays, but I do, and I got you a bushel of the best mangoes in the country, so I don't want to hear a peep out of you until you eat one. I relent and grab the mango, then I rip it in half to expose the soft, juicy flesh inside. I've had mango before, but this one sweeter, sunnier. It's like mango squared. The taste is even better. Who needs sunshine when you have this? Who needs blood when these mangoes exist? Well, aside from me. And everyone needs blood, really. Wow, I murmur. Wow, holy blin. Where did you get this? Florida? You went to Florida? Yes. Last weekend, I went to Ruth the Mango Witch's house. The fact that a mango witch is something that exists does not surprise me. I take another bite. The next time you stop by, tell her I appreciate the work. Ben's uncomfortable chuckle raises a few red flags. I'd probably get turned into a newt if I did that. Why? Because that's what she said she'd do if I, stole from her again. What? Ben. I put the mangoes back in the basket. You can't just gift stolen property, you devil. I can't take this. Of course you can. I fought off a trained guard owl for those. It trained what? Yeah, he nearly scalped me, raised a massive racket, and spooked the flesh-eating hornets out of the hive. Oh, blink. Ben, you need to stop. But luckily, I had an old chicken sandwich and a can of insecticide on me, so I chucked the sandwich at the owl and the hornets followed, and then I sniped the whole mass of them right out of the air. There was screeching, dying bees were raining all over me. It was madness. I wondered vaguely why Ben just happened to have those things on him, but I don't dwell on it too long. I put my hands firmly on his shoulders and forced him to make eye contact with me. Ben, I say authoritatively, stop confessing crimes to me, or I am going to have to report them. Wait, at least let me finish. Please don't finish. Okay, so after I took down the bees and the owl, the enchanted flying squirrels got deployed. Those guys don't mess around, you know? I'm just glad that I have my rabies shots. Anyway, despite all of the aerial defense movements, I managed to reach the trees. Now, the squirrels really didn't like that. I was swarmed by a whole pack of them. A pack? Flock? No, that's not it. He snapped his fingers a couple of times. Scurry. I knew it. I was swarmed by a scurry. I was getting bitten and scratched, and I was having my hair ripped out and my clothes torn, both by the squirrels and the bark, which reminds me, I have a bunch of splinters on my knee still. I've got to extract them so that I can research the tree's magical properties. Maybe I can replicate it so that you can grow your own mango tree. Ben. I am begging you, stop telling me this. Yes, it is cool, but you are confessing crime to me. Stop it. But I haven't even gotten to the mangoes yet. I cover his mouth with my hand. Ben, I say gently, with a clear, firm undertone. Shut up. I remove my hand, and my immense pleasure he stays quiet. I sigh. Good. I don't want you getting in trouble. His mouth twists into a conspiratorial grin. Trouble, Damien? Oh no. I'm much more careful than that. Right. Sure, I say. I still can't accept stolen property. You sure? Yes, Ben. I'm sure. Appreciate. I just can't accept it. All right, if you insist, I'll find another use for these in that case and find you another birthday present. A better one. The best birthday present in the history of vampire birthdays, which is kind of a low bar now that I think about it. Regardless, I'll begin work on that immediately. He adjusts his grip on the basket and continues smiling wryly as he retreats. Be prepared, Damien. The birthday celebration is only beginning. I hear him cackling giddily as he scampers down the hall. I shake my head, bewildered, and close my door. Get ready, freaking Damien, for the best birthday ever. As if the mangoes aren't good enough. They've got healing properties. I feel it. They have the healing properties. That was great, Molly. The Mango Witch. She got the tactical squirrels. She got the freaking tactical starfruit shuriken. Like, Ruth's yard is getting decked the frick out right now. The next story is by Mike VanHoose. I stood outside of the office door marked General Collins Gilroy. This was the first time that I'd been deep into the building before. The offices on the top floor of the Pentagon were main haunts. I'd heard the top secret and above clearance rooms before, but I'd never been selected for any of the assignments. New ground. Just as my right hand began to rise to knock, a sterile metallic voice cracked through the invisible speaker overhead. Major O'Brien, you may enter. Without turning a handle, a flat black door opened in a slow mechanical arc, exposing the grayest of gray offices. A secretary not much older than my grandmother looked over the tops of her black horn-rimmed glasses and flat desktop monitor. One of her hands, her right, slipped just below the surface of her desk. I heard a click. It was a sound that I was intimately familiar with. I knew the sound of a gun cocking better than I did the ringtone on my phone. Step forward, Major O'Brien. I did as she asked. With my other hand, she pulled out a small box. On the top of it was a touchpad just big enough for a finger. Place your right index finger on the pad and keep it there until I tell you to remove it. I put my finger on the pad and waited. The lady's face never changed. She showed no emotion. Nervous energy made me chuckle. I tried to smile. What's your name, ma'am? You have me at a disadvantage. The box beneath the finger produced a faint green light. It ran up, then right, taking a scan of my fingerprint. After a slight pause, the light changed from bright green to blue. From beneath the desk, I could hear the sound of the gun being put on a safe. Remove your finger. General Kilroy will see you now. The lady already disregarded me, turned her attention back to whatever the computer screen offered. A second door opened just past her desk. The slow opening revealed a short but barrel-chested man flipping through a dossier. A partial glimpse at the cover revealed the words Top Secret and Ruth's Mangoes. Before I had a chance to salute and introduce myself, the general pointed to a chair in front of his desk. Sit, Major. I did. He handed me the file. In a gruff and hurried voice, the general barked, Read it, Major. This file doesn't leave the office. As the pages of the file passed, I began to believe that this was some sort of elaborate joke. Never having a good poker face, he must have picked up on my disbelief. Ruth? Mangoes? Produce thief? Is there a problem, Major? He leaned over the desk. I could see the 5 o'clock shadow even this early in the morning. His heavy, leathered, scented aftershave couldn't mask the odor of good cigars and cheap bourbon. Strained red eyes glared. I said, is there a problem, Major? No problem, sir. But am I to believe that the government wants me to A wave of his hand cut me off. He was annoyed. I expected that you would want an explanation, so here it is. Satellite imagery has shown that particular spot of ground has a unique mango tree. It grows fruit packed with a mixture of chemicals, nutrients, and... The general looked around to make sure no one was there. I looked as well. Very redundant in an empty room. He became hesitant. Well, Major, science isn't exactly sure what the other compounds are. Space particles, magic, fairy dust. We just don't know. Fairy dust, sir? His horrible bedside manner returned. Yes, Major, fairy dust. Now, back to the objective. We need as many mangoes from Ruth's mango tree as you can get your hands on. Those mangoes have properties that no one could have imagined. So far, they have cured diseases. We've found that they produce electricity. The juice can be used as an alternate fuel source. And, once again, the general looked around the empty office. They can communicate some type of ancient language like Latin. The military, your government, your country, and God Almighty needs those mangoes, Major. It's up to you how to get them. But be careful. There may be transients, guards, tourists, maybe even dragons. We just don't know. The one thing we do know, Ruth will be there. I saw him shudder at the name and scanned the file one last time. Just to be clear, you want me to get Ruth's mangoes, sir? Yes, Major. We need Ruth's mangoes. Going covert was nothing new. I'd been all over the world in every element, fighting every cause. Now I sat on a sidewalk, scoping out what looked like a normal mango tree. I'd been here for 2 days and seen no signs of any aggressive fairies, dragons, violent zombies, or nippy little purse dogs that Karens used as accessories. Nothing but a mango tree. Today was the day. I had to strike. The sidewalk was empty. Fleshy orange, red, and green fruit begged to be picked. As I raised my hands to take the first one, a flicker of movement from the opposite side of the tree caught my eye. I saw her. It had to be her. 5'8" of blue-haired magnificence, an Amazon princess. Her stare made me weak. Ruth? I asked. Yes, can I help you? Her voice sounded like a soft breeze. I came for your mangoes. I sounded far away. I was lost in her eyes. She was hypnotic. Aw, that's too bad. My mangoes are special. I guess I should kill you. Her voice changed from songbird to screeching owl. Her blue-tipped hair turned to a flaming red. She was no longer the beautiful gypsy warrior goddess that I'd just spoken to. What stood before me was a demonic and evil. Eyes that once held kindness and humor looked full of rage. Ruth stepped away. The mango limbs began to twist and turn. Its branches spread and grew thick. The mangoes fused together, creating a scale. Wings sprouted and legs formed. A colorful horned head spewed mango pulp from snapping, gaping mouth. The mango dragon had me in its clutches, awaiting word from Ruth. She stepped close. I should kill you. But I won't. If you agree to stay and help me guard the tree. I had no choice. Sure, anything. Make this monster turn me loose. With a wink and a smile, Ruth returned to her human form. The mango dragon held tight, slowly changing back into a tree disguise. Now I hang here, swaying in the central Florida breeze. Ocean air from the bay wafts through the branches, rocking me back and forth. I have a good branch. I'm not exposed to the gripping hands of the sidewalk masses who see me as a fleshy treat. But on a good side of the fence, I'm safe. Nothing will get me here. All I have to do is watch and warn if someone tries to steal me or the others. I know my time is short. I will eventually fall, and that's okay. I look forward to the day where Ruth will find me laying on the ground, juicy and sweet. Oh no! We have just learned the origin of the mango fruits that were then given to Damien, and how Ruth is a mango witch. This totally works well with the mango witch, if I do say so myself. That's fantastic. I love the mango dragon. Oh my gosh. Also, props for Ruth being incredibly sweet. Also, you don't get mangoes that sweet unless you were also sweet, okay? The next story is by Grumble. I told you already. We have to wait until she's not home, Poppy said. She was stretched to her full height as she glared down at Meg's crouched position. How she could have ever birthed such an idiotic weakling was beyond Poppy, but maybe this would teach her other children to stop trying to imitate their eldest sister. Aw, come on, Mom. The guard's asleep. I've been watching him for the past few nights and he doesn't move an inch. Hazel, one of Poppy's youngest daughters, nodded her head at Meg's words. Poppy let out a feigned, reluctant sigh. Very well, but you better bring enough back for us all. Okay, deal, said Meg, jerking her chin up confidently. There was a moment of silence as the dark eyes locked. Realizing that Meg had never expected for her to give in, Poppy made sure to leave no room to change their minds. Well, go on. Well, go on then. I don't want to wait around. Well, go on then. I don't want to wait around. Meg gave a slow nod. With eyes wide and a pained smile, she crawled toward the garden. Not you, admonished Poppy when Hazel moved to follow her sister. You can sit back and see how it, or isn't, done. Poppy watched her daughter crawl away, knowing that whatever the outcome was, it would be pleasant. Meg pressed herself low to the ground, trying to stay out of view of the windows as dewy grass soaked her stomach. She'd been dreaming of the mangoes ever since she'd seen the tree beginning to bear fruit, dreaming of the mangoes' sweet, sticky goodness hidden behind the thick, slick skin. She could see the guard now. Her mother feared him, but why was beyond Meg. She found his round body and overly large eyes rather comical. She'd just made it to the bottom of the tree when she had heard a mule. Her head shot toward the ground as the large fluff ball came toward her. Not wanting to encourage it, she stayed frozen as it sniffed her face. It let out another mule and looked at her with eyes that said there was absolutely nothing going on behind. After a few tense breaths, it muled again before turning away and walking out of the garden. With a relieved shake of her body, Meg grabbed the tree trunk and began to climb, swinging her eyes toward the guard as she went. He might not scare her, but if he woke, he might alert the woman inside. In no time at all, she was directly in front of one of the fruits. With glee, she reached for one, taking as large of a bite as she could. It took her a moment to register the taste. Bitter and far from ripe. She spat the fruit out and the chunk launched through the air, hitting the guard in the face. His golden eyes opened as he stared at her from across the other side of the tree, his expression moronic. Meg wasn't perturbed. She turned her back to him and tried to tear the stick that attached the mango to the tree. Within seconds, she was clutched in a tight grip. Her eyes bulged. She couldn't believe it. The guard! He'd moved so fast! Meg looked down at her body, seeing just how big the talons were. She'd never noticed them before, always hiding under the feathers. She was taken higher and higher into the air, and rushing cold stinging in her eyes. He swooped down, making her stomach roll. Fear engulfed her, but not due to the sudden freefall. No, the fear came from one who stood waiting for them. The guard dropped Meg onto the woman's upturned palm before landing on her shoulder and letting out the gentle hoot of the nibble on her curls. The woman watched Meg as she tried to make herself look as small and cute as possible. The woman merely shrugged, and then, with a movement so quick that it caused the owl to fly off her shoulder, she swung her arm back and proceeded to launch Meg high across the garden. Back at the edge of the garden, Hazel watched her sister fly through the air at a speed quicker than any bird she'd ever seen. In no time at all, Meg disappeared into the night. Now, what did you learn? Poppy asked Hazel in a motherly tone. Hazel flicked her fluffy tail to the side and rolled her eyes. To wait until the house is ruthless. Yes! We got a ruthless pun! Thank you! Thank you. Thank you, Grumble. I appreciate that so much. Also, just a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. It is ridiculous how fun the just trying to steal the mangoes stories are. Because also, everybody, I'm appreciating so much that you're buying in, that you've played with. These are the greatest mangoes ever. There is something incredible about these mangoes. And that is because, you know, they are cultivated by Ruth. That is one of the things. The final story of the day is the farmer herself, the tree guardian, mango witch herself, having the opportunity to defend her own mango tree. In her own words, once upon a time, there was a woman, not an old woman, mind you, but a well-kept middle-aged woman who lived by a busy road. In her yard, beside this road, grew an equally well-kept mango tree. From the moment it bloomed in spring until it dropped the last fruit in midsummer, the woman saw to the tree's every need. Those who traveled the road also took note of the mango tree. Some paid the tree too much attention. The tree, after all, was very close to the road, and the woman was not always around to watch it. Harvest season arrived, so the woman gathered up her pots and firewood and salt and sugar and black rubber gloves. When everything was ready, she sat by the window in her hut and waited. Before long, a woodcutter rolled down the road with his cart. Like the others, he had watched the mangoes ripen with anticipation. Today, he stopped beside the mango tree. He wouldn't come this way again for several weeks, but by then, the mangoes would be gone. I'm going to strip the tree top to bottom before anyone else has a chance to. He wrapped his fingers around the nearest mango. A blue flash arced between his hand and the fruit. His eyes went wide and fell to the ground. The next morning, the woman gathered up the dead squirrels and rats from under the tree. The road would be busier than usual because tomorrow was market day. She heard a group of minstrels approaching, singing merrily, so she sat about picking up sticks in her yard. "Good woman," one sang out, "could you spare some mangoes for our troop? We're mighty hungry, and it's such a long way to town." The woman looked up from her stick gathering. "I'm sorry, but I need every mango to earn my meager income." "Of course, good woman. We would not wish to deprive you of your livelihood." And so they skipped past. A father and daughter on a cart received the same answer. A man on a horse rode by in the evening, and he noticed the ripening fruit and the woman's absence. If that old hag didn't want people stealing her mangoes, she shouldn't have planted the tree so close to the road. He rode around the entire tree until he found the ripest mango and reached out, plucked it from a tree. Blue lights snapped. Man and horse crumbled. The following day was market day. Those traveling today risked missing it altogether, so they stopped along the way, which is why the yelp at midday caught the woman by surprise. Rushing outside, she saw 3 men standing around the 4th man, flat on his back and stone dead. "Oh dear," she exclaimed. "What happened?" "He tried to pick a mango, ma'am, and fell over dead," one of the men said. "Were you stealing my mangoes?" the woman asked. "Oh no, ma'am. Not us. Just him." She walked to the tree and stepped upon a lever cleverly concealed in the grass. Righteous people ask before they take. "Would you care for a mango?" The 3 men turned pale and shook their heads. She reached up and plucked one from the tree. "Are you sure? They're ripe." She picked 2 more and handed one to each of the 3 men. "You're late for market. If this man is of no importance to you, I will see that he is properly disposed of, so that you won't be further delayed." The 3 men hurried away, and she dragged the dead man's body back to her hut. Over the next week, she remained busy inside of her hut with her pots and pans. When she finished, her larder was full. The mango tree was stripped bare, whether by squirrels or rats or unscrupulous travelers. She didn't know. She didn't care. She had more than enough meat to fill her belly, and more than enough bone and blood to fertilize her mango tree. This is what makes the mango so good. It's filled with blood. Fed on blood. That's why no one needs blood when they eat those mangoes, because they get it from the mangoes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Actually, I feel like this had a more spooky factor to it than your spooky story entry, to be honest with you, because there is something, like, you do magical, casual magic so good. It also feels like a fairy tale. Like, modern fairy tale feels very accurate for the types of stories that you do. So, beautiful, guys. Point being, stop trying to steal Ruth's mangoes. You will be punished. Always ask. And if she says no, leave the mangoes alone, because you will be punished somehow, some way. I don't make the rules. But that said, thank you everybody so much for submitting. This was so fun, unreasonably more fun, because there is like a little more personal touch to it because of the community aspect, and I appreciate it. If you would like your chance at being involved next month, check out the prompt for December. I'm pretty sure it's not Christmas related, because I try to be not super cliche. So that there's difference from year to year, but I cannot in my right mind to tell you what it is right now. But so check out the link. With that said, let me know what your favorite story was down in the comments below. I think I'm biased in saying it was Roots, but also Nick Cage, but also Damien and the freaking Mango Witch, but also the Mango Dragon, but also the animals trying to get into Ruth's yard, and Ruth taking care of all the animals. There were so many good stories this month, you guys. I could feel the love. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out. Have a great week. Have a great November. Hopefully, don't die.